What crimes have they committed?
Trump?
Yeah, the ones in the Oval Office. What crimes have those people committed?
You want to look it up on Wikipedia? There's like a list.
Well, you made the sign, so I'm asking you.
It's true. I'm at a protest, though.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anything. I'm here for my community.
Okay, so you make a sign about people being criminals, but you don't know what you made it for?
All right, so
I make a sign supporting my community and the people in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed.
I know. You shouldn't be ashamed of your sign. I'm just asking what crimes they have committed.
I don't have to list them to you.
Might I?
You can simply look it up.
Have you done research?
It's all over the media.
Yeah, so I was just asking him, he's holding the sign, if he could just tell me what crimes people in the Oval Office have committed. You're holding it, so I thought maybe you could give it to me quickly.
I'm good.
What do you make of the fact that he was democratically elected, even won the popular vote? How does that make him a king?
It doesn't make him a king. It makes him a president, not a king.
Well, this is called No Kings. So what does that mean to you?
It means we got to get rid of him. He's not a king. It's a democratic process, and we've gone that route with him. Now he's acted like a king.
Can you give me a specific example?
Specific example? Well, there's a million of them all put together. There's no one example. It's
Just one or two?
It's more than one or two.
No, can you give me one or two examples?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I can, I guess. I'm just at a loss of thought here on. There's a lot of things.
Okay.
I can't really.
Okay, well, thank you.
so what brings you out today?
No King's Day.
And why specifically are you out supporting No King's Day?
I think protest is important.
Why are you protesting?
How much time do you have?
A couple minutes. And what's the main reason you're out here protesting President Trump?
I don't agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with, well, I don't even think it's appropriate for me to have this interview.
Welcome back, guys. So, we have JM21999 in the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. And I guess everyone else is doing great. All right, I'm going to be jumping in, and as usual, let's know your thoughts in the chat, and we're going to be having a conversation. Tony is in the chat. It says, how pathetic. Their activism is easily dismantled with basic questions. How embarrassing and childish. That is sad. That is so sad, guys. Every time I watch those videos, it always jars me that these are the people that we're dealing with, and they believe that they're on the right side of history. And speaking of someone who thinks that he was on the right side of history, an individual decided that they were going to stick it to Trump and attack a federal building. The Federal Plaza is a storied building that was essentially the staging ground for the FBI and other relief teams that were gathered to essentially respond to the 9/11 attacks. It is crazy that these people essentially have no sense of history. They have no sense of connection to the United States, and they continue to do insane things like this. A video was released yesterday. Someone from across the street recorded the entire incident. We're going to watch it. Then we're also going to watch the reaction from the news. And we're also going to listen to left-wing media once again, right on cue. Oh no, the violence that this guy acted out isn't exactly, isolated to him. It's all because of Trump. It's so predictable and it's so insane. You have these insane people talking, but we're going to get to that eventually. So let's watch this video that essentially shows us how this entire incident took place. So that's the guy running with a barrel. Of course, it's either gasoline, and then he lights it up.
Oh my God. Get away! Oh my God! Oh my God.
So this was the incident. The guy, first of all, pours some incendiary liquid.
This is insane.
At the entrance of the building, lights it up, and then he runs back. People are speculating that what he had in his hands at the time when he was tackled were explosive devices that he meant to throw into the fire for a bigger impact. Now, this article here, essentially, I'm going to read through the article, then we're going to look at the aftermath of the attack. We have ABC News is reporting that the suspect who allegedly, now I don't like the word allegedly because we have video of the guy doing it, detonated the incendiary device, has a documented history of anti-immigration and customs enforcement activity. How is it that you have the same people doing these attacks? A few weeks back, you had the attackers who essentially shot at ICE officers who got a collective 100-year sentence. And then you had the shootings at the facility in Texas that ended up with two migrants killed in the shootout. Of course, it wasn't essentially a shootout. It was a sniper shooting at an ICE vehicle, assuming that they were going to murder ICE agents. You have all the attacks happening all over the country. And then you have this. Is this a coincidence? And this is coming about a day after Mayor Mamdani had some choice words to say about ICE. Let's keep reading. Breaking: a man with a history of anti-immigration and customs enforcement activity set off an incendiary device outside a federal building in Manhattan on Monday morning, authorities said. Well, we do see the videos. We have just watched the videos. And an unidentified individual, his name is already out there. We'll see if this report contains the name. Set off an incendiary device outside a federal building in New York City on Monday. Videographer Aluya Scudder-Caster shared a video of the aftermath of the Manhattan explosion, including federal officers rushing to set up a more secure perimeter to keep people out. It appeared the FBI agents and members of DHS enforcement and removal operations were responding to the incident. Two of the officers were rushing a handcuffed individual into the building, so it appears they had already apprehended a suspect. The individual was a male who appeared to be white, though his ethnicity could not be determined from the video. Let's see. New York Police Department spoke with Fox News correspondent and stated that authorities recovered a firearm in connection with the incident. From what we heard, it was an air gun. It's essentially a pellet gun. But it was not clear if the firearm was on the suspect at the time of the arrest. So this is what has been reported so far. And a few other people have had something to say about the fact that all of this is lining up with Democrat rhetoric against ICE and the Trump administration. Meanwhile, the FBI released a very brief statement about the incident. This morning, an individual deployed an incendiary device outside of 26 Federal Plaza. The individual has been taken into custody, and the FBI New York Joint Terrorism Task Force is investigating the incident. Since we do not know the identity of the attacker or his motivations, it is how we're going to see his motivations. All right. Okay. Like I said, I don't like the use of allegedly. I don't like the use of we don't know his motivations. The guy had a sign that says ICE out or something. We're going to see it in a bit. Okay. And all of that was recovered right as he was being arrested. Apparently, employees of multiple federal agencies working in the building, including reportedly the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security, there have been numerous attacks on federal officers from anti-ICE wackos recently. However, the DHS officers were certainly responding to the incident. Now, here's the thing. Mayor Zoran Mamdani certainly encourages crime with his sanctuary policies for illegal aliens, his enthusiastic support for Islamic terrorists, and more. It is hardly surprising that his city would have a problem with terrorism against federal authorities. Coincidentally, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio last week spoke out at a summit designed to counter far-left terrorism. Historically, most politically motivated terrorism in the West has been carried out by violent far-left groups and individuals. Rubio pointed out far-left anti-government terrorism now accounts for more attacks and plots in the United States than any other ideological category. Far-left actors were responsible for 63% of all recorded anti-government attacks or plots, as well as 3 out of the 4 anti-government fatalities in the United States in 2025. It seems he might have another incident to add to his list. Now, so let us take a look at a few of these additional posts. Okay. Well, let's see. Do we need to watch this? Okay, let's watch this. This is from a...
We have breaking news. A suspect is in custody after smoke filled the outside of a Manhattan immigration court. In a statement, the FBI says a person with a history of, quote, anti-ICE activity set off what it's calling an incendiary device. Now the FBI's New York Joint Terrorism Task Force is investigating. Let's bring in Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky for more. So, Aaron, what do we know about this so far?
This happened this morning outside 26 Federal Plaza, which houses immigration court. It's also where immigration applications are processed, and it has been the scene of protest before. You'll remember elected officials have been arrested inside that building trying to observe ICE proceedings and immigration proceedings that have come under controversy of late. But it was on the north side of the building where this apparent smoke device or some kind of firework with an accelerant, an incendiary device of some kind, detonated. The federal police, which are in charge of securing the building, along with ICE police and the FBI, raced to the scene. They took an individual into custody. I talked to some police sources who said that this individual is known to them, known to have anti-ICE type views, may have even participated in protests before. He's now in federal custody.
You see a lot of barricades that were already there. Is there a lot of security around this building? What's
Always.
That picture like?
The barricades that you see are there all the time now because that building has become such a focal point of immigration protests. So there is a ring of those fences around the entire perimeter of 26 Federal Plaza. Entry is controlled. And you see there that the device, that's the individual in custody, the device went off outside the building, but in a place where people would gather. So there were a lot of people there who were all pushed back. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like anybody was seriously.
So that report from ABC News. Now, the individual's social media account. The individual's social media account has already revealed that there's been a ton of anti-ICE slogans and sentiments being shared on his platform. The guy's name is Andrew Arabaka, and he tried to blow up the federal building. Well, if he was trying to blow up the building, okay, that's a bit of a stretch because pouring a few liters of gasoline and lighting it up isn't going to take down that building. Okay, so he isn't very bright if that's what he was trying to do. Now, here's a report from Fox News.
Federal prosecutors didn't specify the charges that Arabaka will face. Thankfully, all 3 people injured in that attack will recover. We'll send it back to you, Bill.
Okay, Nate, thanks. More to come. Nate Foy, thank you.
Yep.
And let's bring in Jim Trusty, a former Justice Department prosecutor, say they didn't lay that out. Let me just show the weapons as the suspect had for everybody to see. 2 axes, a machete, 3 knives, a hammer, and 6 incendiary devices or fireworks. What kind of charges might the DOJ charge him with?
Well, I mean, this guy was armed for murder, but of course, federal murder cases are kind of restrictive. If you have assaults, even by fire, on federal.
So he came armed to commit crimes. From the incident, with bystanders milling about, I would say that this attack again is more evidence of violence coming from the left. More videos from the incident. More videos from the incident, and again, this is a leftist attacking a federal building. In the eyes of the left-wing media, this is totally okay. Oh no, he was only protesting. This is mostly peaceful. And we're going to see someone on CNN essentially try to defend this and claim that the real problem is obvious, it's Trump. So clearly things have settled down and people are milling about, you know. Now, the news has been very tame in reporting this. We've seen ABC reporting an incendiary device. The place has been a hotbed for immigration protests. So let's call this what it is, okay? You have leftists who are pro-illegal immigration. They want people to enter the country without documentation so that they can come into the country and vote left. Tony says, let's have an exchange program with Mexico for dickheads like this fool. Swap this not for a good Mexican citizen. Look, anyone who has been offered the option of leaving the United States, okay, being sponsored to move to any country of their choice, has always turned it down. All right. These people have no convictions. They don't understand what they're talking about. They've been brainwashed. And when they're given the opportunity to execute on their position, leave the country, go somewhere else, they never take that option. They never do. Tony also says America will accept good, upstanding Mexican citizens for treason. Okay, I'm violating. Okay, I'm struggling to read what you're saying there. So, okay, but the fact is, and basically you're right. I get the sense of what you're saying, that America deserves people who want to be there, who want to help the country, and who want to essentially promote the things that make America great. Now, as usual, you have the left wing. Now, remember, the left wing media brought you hits like this. Okay, you had hits during the Summer of Love where they said things like this.
Problem. So I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is relishing that.
Fires have been started, like the fire that got started at the Federal Plaza. This is what mainstream media from the left, of course, has become. All right, they have become apologists for left-wing violence, and there's nothing that typifies it more than this exchange on CNN. All right. So this post says Scott Jennings has to physically move himself after psycho nutjob Keith Boykin spews utter nonsense on CNN. So let's listen to this insanity.
Guy, Donald Trump is responsible for some of the worst, most incendiary, most politically violent rhetoric in our country. So I don't accept this statement from Scott at all. Violence, political violence is wrong, whether it's left or right. The problem is, I don't know any president on the Democratic side in my lifetime who's ever encouraged political violence. In fact, I don't know any Republican president in my lifetime who's ever encouraged political violence until Donald Trump. We have crossed the proverbial standard here. We've passed the point of no return with Donald Trump. And if we don't call him out for his responsible activities in encouraging this, we're responsible as well.
Do you have any comment on the? Do you have any comment on the actual news story? That
I just
Sarah...
said I condemn political violence in all situations. What you did is you took this situation and you agreed with Tom Homan's talking point that somehow this is a Democratic case. But the reality is the studies have shown that in the past decade or so, 112 of the past right-wing, of the 112 right-wing murders have taken place. Only 13 have taken place from the left.
So you don't have any comment on this?
No, I just told. What else is there to say except I condemn it, Scott? You want me to say more than that?
Yeah.
What else? You don't say. Hey, you haven't said yet. What have you said about Donald Trump and the January 6th insurrection?
Look, we keep saying this again and again. As soon as a leftist does yet another one from the hundreds of leftist violence incidents that they commit, they always bring up January 6th. And I guarantee you that they haven't gone through those body cam videos that we've been watching. They don't want to see it because in their minds, January 6th is right-wing violence, is gospel, and that is going to essentially balance out the hundreds of incidents that the left has continued to encourage.
The fact that he actually tried to create a $1.8 billion fund to support those people.
I'm long on the record about political violence.
So his problem is that President Trump is trying to deport illegal aliens. The problem with Democrats is that the federal immigration law is being enforced. And that's why it's okay for this guy to set fire to a federal building. Now, let's watch a more balanced report. Well, I would like to call it a balanced report coming from this news outlet, Real America Voice. Let's just play this instead, okay? And then we'll give you a commentary.
What can you tell us about the incendiary attack in New York City and how concerning is this? Is this the sign of things to continue to come?
Well, so it's kind of a shocking thing, right? I don't know if we could say an effective attack on a federal office, on an ICE office. But to me, the bigger problem is, and actually Secretary Rubio discussed this in a recent speech, is this rise of far left violence, right? And not even rise. I mean, this has been something that's been around over the last, especially in significant force over the last, let's say, 5 years, and certainly further back than that. And we've kind of treated it in a different way than we've treated a whole lot of other kind of similar extremist violence. So to me, this is a continuation of that trend, if you will. The fact that the border was opened up, in effect, and sort of millions and millions of people were allowed to come through. Now we have a policy in the United States of deporting a lot of those people, especially the people who are criminals, especially the people who obviously have bad intent against the country. And that, of course, is going to create a lot of problems in itself, because this is a messy thing to do, right? It's messy, it's nasty. It's not, a lot of people are going to be unhappy about it, right? So it's not surprising that ICE institutions or ICE locations are being targeted and so forth. But I think that the key part is to be able to, for United States law enforcement to really be able to kind of figure out its counterintelligence posture, its whole kind of approach to this kind of violence, which basically has kind of both been downplayed in the media and also And law enforcement hasn't had an effective response, except perhaps recently.
So, guys, while we're watching this and talking about this, okay, let me know your thoughts in the chat. He's pointed out some very important things. One of them is the fact that a lot of the terrorism that has been taking place from the left is being downplayed by the media, is being downplayed in the media. Meanwhile, it's growing, it's increasing. Last year, we saw left-wing rioters attacking ICE agents, federal agents. They were firebombing federal buildings in California. And what did the mayor of California do? She came out to stand in solidarity with the rioters. You had people who destroyed public property. They literally broke up pavement. They broke up pavement. They came with sledgehammers, broke up pavements, and took the pieces, the chunks of pavement to throw at ICE vehicles that were driving through the city. You had this incident. Okay, I'm gonna look. I want to play this because it is crazy that we are having this conversation, and many times people forget. People forget that all of this happened, and that's the concern. And that's the concern that I have. That's the concern that I have, because you have these things. You have these things happening, and once it's in the rearview mirror for about a year. Once it's in the rearview mirror for about a year, people just forget and move on. All right. This happened last year. All right. This was in Los Angeles. You had people throwing rocks at law enforcement from bridges. Okay. And all of these people, to a man, every single person on that bridge, here they are breaking up pavement and throwing rocks from the bridge at law enforcement. Look. So this happened, okay? This happened. And then you have this this individual on the panel at CNN claiming that there's more violence on the left, and that what we just saw is the same as January 6th. They want us to believe that this here is the same as January 6th, or is not as bad as January 6th. The left will tell you that that January 6th was worse than 9/11. So these are the kinds of deceptive conversations that we're continuing to hear on these issues. So who is this guy who essentially decided that he was going to attack the federal building? He's yet another brainwashed leftist who's been told that Trump is evil, Trump is bad, who's been told that that left-wing violence is necessary in order to force the change that you need. And he's carrying it out. And while he's carrying it out, you have people who are being told, well, it's Trump's fault because Trump has been the most divisive president. He has encouraged violence with his rhetoric. My question is this: how has Trump encouraged violence with his rhetoric? In what ways has Trump said, MAGA, go out and throw rocks at the police? Okay. Did Trump say to MAGA, do this to the police force? All right. Throw rocks, break up pavements, and attack law enforcement attack anyone who doesn't agree with our policies, attack anyone who didn't vote for us, attack anyone who doesn't have the American flag on their lawn. Did Trump say that? No, he didn't. But what do Democrats say routinely? Get out there, get in their faces. When they go high, we go low. And when they go low, we kick them. Like, they say this routinely. All right? So this entire timeline that we're all seeing is all the result of the left going completely unhinged, taking the mask off, and telling the whole world who they are. But sadly, the world doesn't recognize who they are. Now, I'm going to play this video because I saw this video this morning, and I just want to share it with you. Now, this is a couple. This couple attempts to educate me on DEI and Black history being erased by Trump. All right, we did have a respectful conversation, but I was trying to explain to them what Republicans believe, that Republicans believe in merit over skin color. Now, while we're talking about the extreme violent leftists, we also have to contend with being able to discuss with and be convincing to people who don't appear to be violent, but they still toe the same line, the ideological lines that have created the violent leftists. This couple here is walking around, and we're going to listen to this exchange, and I'm going to point out some of the things that I picked up on their conversation. They look like totally nice people. They look like people that you could, have a barbecue with. You could have a respectful conversation with them. However, there's a bit of a problem with the worldview that they subscribe to.
Are you? We're allowed to do it. We are. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, I talk about free speech a lot. Okay. Are you proud to be American?
I am, but I can't help but hang my head a little bit with what's going on. You know, I can't help but feel a little bit under attack. But this is my home, and I want to love it, and I want it to love me back, but I don't always feel like it does.
So already, the opening salvo tells you they honestly believe that America isn't treating them well. Now, we have people who live in America who may not be as successful or as wealthy as the Elon Musks, Donald Trumps, and the Google execs of the world. But can they honestly say that America doesn't provide them with opportunities that other people everywhere else in the world, don't have access to? Can they honestly say that? Can this couple honestly say that they have fewer opportunities than the same couple, same age, in a country like Nigeria? All right. Now, Nigeria, by no means, like when you measure the things happening in some other third world countries and the economy of Nigeria, Nigeria has it good. But the average couple like this, who don't have government connections, who don't have generational wealth that may have come from slavery, because some of it did come from slavery, who don't have connections that span 100 years and wealth that spans 100 years due to trade with the British Empire. If you don't have that kind of generational money in Africa, and you're just a regular guy who went to college, had a job, and married, has kids, walking around the streets, do they have the same opportunities as this couple do? They do not.
Why?
Because of what's going on. So, when you're trying to erase history that I look at and is endearing to me, it hurts me.
Now, I was talking with my dad. All right. I'm going to just say I was talking with my dad. My dad lives in Virginia, And he says to me during one of our conversations, he brought it up and he says, Trump is trying to erase history. And I asked him a very simple question. How is he trying to erase history? And then he says, well, he's trying to pretend that slavery doesn't exist. And I said, no, that is not true. I pushed back and said, I've listened to every single speech that Trump has made on this issue, at least the ones that I've found, and he has never said, I'm trying to erase history. But what he has done is that he's going into places like the Smithsonian and other places that are funded by the federal government to say, hey, all of these fringe racist works that are getting in there to claim that the white race is evil and the only history that blacks have is slavery, they need to be revisited and essentially removed. You have the Smithsonian putting up a pair of handcuffs that were used on a certain black celebrity, and he claims that was the evidence of black oppression. And they put it up in the Smithsonian, like crazy stuff like that. Is that history? Is that the history of the United States? So when people are actively rewriting history, and then you have people, like President Trump saying, hey, you're rewriting history. This isn't the history of the United States. There are also good things that took place within the history of the United States. Why don't we have a more balanced view of it? People like him listen to MSNBC. I'm just going to use their old name. Okay, they now want to be known as MS Now. Okay, they want these people to feel like President Trump is trying to erase history by saying all of the modern retelling of history from the black perspective is wrong. Most of these people who are writing the history books today never experienced slavery. They are the beneficiaries of the American dream, and yet they want everyone to believe that slavery is still impacting the black race today. Someone is going to jump in the chat and say, well, you're wrong. All of the disadvantage in the black community, how many black executives do you have? You can ask all those questions, but the question is this: is the black community the minority or the majority? Is it the minority or the majority? So when you're trying to have a one-for-one representation with a group, with a community that is the majority in the community, that is no longer fair. It's no longer fair. You're just trying to subvert the numbers. It's a math problem. So let's keep listening.
And I think it hurts America because that's not what America's about. When I look here and I see all these people, I was just telling my wife, when I see all these people, I'm just like, why? Why do we have some of the stuff that we have? It just makes no sense to me. When, if we have the same blood type, my blood will work in your body, and if you needed my blood, you wouldn't even care where it came from. And I wouldn't care. It's so silly to me, but this is perfect.
So that's because of Trump that you're upset with the...
Yeah, I'm upset with that direction, absolutely. Yeah. I wasn't trying to say it, but yeah.
I voted for Trump, but I don't look at skin color. That's not how I am. I think that we're all Americans regardless of how we voted,
And that's fair.
I just try to bridge the gap in real life.
And I can appreciate you wanting to do that, right?
Yeah.
However, as a black man in America, I can't help but feel under attack when there is a person who has policies and enacts policies and puts people in place to enact policies that are detrimental to me.
So now listen to what he says when he's asked what policies is he referring to.
Which policy, if you don't mind me asking?
Really?
I really don't know.
That's unfortunate.
DEI. Diversity, inclusivity, and what? Also diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now they are going to give the TV pitch on DEI, while you and I know that DEI on paper isn't how it plays out in the real world. I was having a conversation with, I was having a conversation on Discord with Hickok's family. You know, guys, this is a plug for the for the Discord. Use the link in the description of this video to join the Discord. You guys can connect with me and have conversations like this. We talked for over an hour, like it was a long conversation. And I said to him, one of the things that happened the day before Sunday was I had a conversation with people, who were essentially asking me why I didn't follow football anymore. And I said to them, DEI. I didn't say that in that structure, but I said back in Nigeria, we have very talented footballers. They go all over the world and they really, really shine. But whenever we put together a national team, here's what happens. Okay, here's our own version of DEI. We have over 20 tribes in Nigeria. We have 3 major tribes, and then the others are like smaller tribes. And every tribe wants to be represented. However, the real fight is among the 3 major tribes. Now, most of the very gifted, talented footballers or soccer players we have in Nigeria come from one of the tribes, which happens to be the tribe I'm from. We have a larger population of talented soccer players from that tribe. But guess what happens? The politicians and the lobbyists get together and they say the soccer team has to be representative of all of the tribes. So it's no longer based on merit. They essentially politicize football or soccer, and then they get people from different tribes who may not be as skilled as someone else in a different tribe, but because they want representation, diversity, inclusion. Look, they don't call it that. They don't call it that. All right, gardening, we'll see you. So we'll see you. Have a great appointment. Like they don't call it diversity, equity, and inclusion in Nigeria. They don't. They call it a quota system. Everybody now, because you have a country with all Black people, but now they fragment into different tribes. Every tribe wants to be heard, and they insist on being heard, whether somebody is qualified for that role or not. The same thing happens not just in soccer, but also in government. In government, the president of the country is chosen by rotation. They had this agreement, which Nigerians didn't have, like the general public didn't have a say in that arrangement, but a bunch of the chieftains of the big tribes said, okay, we're going to have to agree to rotate the presidency across these 3 major tribes. So every presidential 8-year cycle, another tribe gets to present their own candidate across all of the parties. It's no surprise that the third world is as crazy as it is. And that's why I have a visceral reaction to DEI, because it is what has destroyed things like soccer in Nigeria. Was Nigeria at the World Cup? No. Why? Because of DEI. So this couple in their minds think that, or like I said, they've accepted the TV pitch. The TV pitch is DEI is great. DEI will level the playing field. DEI will make sure that everybody gets a chance. Let me tell you one other thing that, look, whenever I talk about these things and I refer to Nigeria or Africa or the third world, it is because I see the United States heading in that direction, full blast. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? What on earth are you guys doing? We've tried it. It doesn't work. You have this thing that they do in the educational system. It's called, there are 2 things. One is called a cutoff mark. And I'm talking about Nigeria, a cutoff mark. When you take the version of your SAT, okay, everybody isn't scored at the same level. they have people from a certain part of the country who have to scale a lower bar in order to get into college. You have people from a different part of the country, mostly my part of the country, who have to scale a higher bar to get into college. And then another part of the country that has to scale a slightly lower bar to get into college. I noticed this when I was in primary school. I didn't make anything of it. Here's what I thought as a child. Well, they're trying to level the playing field because people in this part of the country are so very intelligent that they would outperform everyone else in the country. So they have to level the playing field by giving different cutoffs to different tribes in the country. What has that created? The country is being run by morons. That's what it's created. It's being run by literal morons. So when people like this buy the TV pitch and they say Trump is trying to get rid of DEI and that makes him an evil person, they haven't lived in a country that is the full manifestation of DEI, and that's why they can say what they're saying.
Just
DEI.
Yes, but that's one.
So you want DEI?
No, I mean, yes, of course, we want diversity, right? We want diversity, equity, and inclusion. We don't want you to get rid of it because that's a way of making things a little bit fairer in this country.
How about work harder? How about work harder? How about encourage your kids to do more of math and science than kicking a ball or throwing a ball around? How about teaching your kids to sit down and study long hours to master the art of rigorous study so that you can elevate yourselves to the point where you get some of these jobs that you claim you have a right to have. You are underrepresented. It's always the shortcut for these guys. You don't want to go through the centuries of rigorous work that other races. Sadly, I don't have any other word to put it. I would like to use the word communities. Okay, the Caucasian community, the white community, like they've spent centuries rigorously building the sciences, building the arts. Like they rigorously did that. People were literally burnt at the stake for some of their convictions. And then you want to waltz in at the finish line and say, well, while my ancestors were essentially killing missionaries and killing twins because we thought that twins were demonic, you guys were doing all of this and advancing, and you have a head start on us. Oh my goodness, it's not fair. So why don't you guys give us a lower cutoff mark, lower expectations, lower the expectations, and then let us come in at the finish line, even though we don't know what the hell we're doing. That's what they're saying. All right. And how do I know that that's a problem? It's a problem because you have the likes of Brandon Johnson as mayor of Chicago. You have the likes of him leading Chicago. You have the likes of Hakeem Jeffries as the minority leader of the Democrat Party. You have people like that showing up and being leaders. At least be articulate. At least show some intelligence. At least show some self-awareness. But no, because of DEI, they feel like they're entitled to being given a pass on any insane thing that they have to say. The mainstream media will not push back on them at all. They just get a pass anyhow because of DEI.
When you think about it, even when it was founded, it wasn't founded with black folks in mind.
Yeah, because you guys were not on the Mayweather or the Mayfair. You weren't. Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? I can say these things because I'm black. Some of these people in the United States will say to me, you're not black because you're actually not African American. I can say this because I'm black. You weren't on the Mayfair. You weren't there. You weren't there. You came after on a boat that white people built. You were sold to white traders by black chiefs who stole your ancestors from neighboring towns or villages that were weaker than them. They stole them and sold them as product to the white traders. The white traders didn't originally come for slaves. They came for gold. They came for something else. They came for spices. They didn't come for humans. But you presented them as product, and you were exchanged, or your ancestors were exchanged. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? And don't get me started on the whole insanity of reparations. If you want reparations, you need to head on back to Africa. Track down all of the families who are descendants of those chiefs and get them to band together to give you reparations because they stole your ancestors from their neighboring villages and sold your ancestors to white slavers who essentially brought them to the American continent. That's the truth. It's not popular, but that's the truth. I am supremely disappointed in people like this. I am. For the simple reason that they have refused to engage in logical conversations, in logical thought. They, like I said earlier, they look like very nice people, even though the guy, his mannerisms are very effeminate. They look like very nice people. However, the logic that they are putting out there shows why they vote blue and why they have the sentiments they have towards the Trump administration. Remember, this is at the root of the ideologies that we keep seeing repeat itself with the ICE protests and the ICE and the violence against ICE. According to him, he feels unsafe. According to him, he feels unseen. According to his wife, the biggest problem that the Trump administration has created is the removal of DEI. That is his biggest problem.
It was founded with white folks in mind, white men, not even white women, right? Because what was a black person? You were, what, 2/5 of a person? You weren't even considered a whole person.
Yeah, and whose fault was that? That was the Democrats. That was the Democrats. The Democrats were the ones who negotiated down the value of the freed slaves in their states. It was the Democrats. The brainwashing of the average black community in America is so astounding, and it's even, for me, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. They threw out all these things, and here's another hot take from me. Okay, it's another hot take from me. This shows when people talk about IQ points by community, you would understand why you would see someone, and you know the trope. Anyone who wears glasses is smart. Okay, I wear glasses. Does it mean that I'm smart? He wears glasses. Does it mean he's smart? The only way you can tell when someone is smart is when you engage them in a deep, thoughtful conversation and the things that comes out of their mouth. He isn't that smart. He just happens to live in a country that has reduced the bar for him and people who look like him, just like we do in Africa for the children of cattle rearers who don't read, who don't study, and yet they give them a lower bar in order to clear the same entrance exam so they can sit in the same classrooms with people like me who cleared a higher bar. You don't like it, but it's the truth. I don't like it, but it's the truth. He cleared a lower bar. He's not required to have rigorous thoughts as to why the black community continues to execute violence against itself and then turn around and blame the white community. Why is the black on black violence rising in our communities? Meanwhile, it appears that nothing is changing in spite of the fact that we've blamed the CIA for flooding black communities with drugs in the 80s. We've blamed the CIA for everything about rap music and so on. We've blamed everyone else. Now they're blaming Trump for removing DEI. To give them the opportunity to rise up to the responsibility of improving themselves the way they should. Trump is evil for doing that. This video, I don't know, like this live stream, I just decided to talk about the one thing with the attack and then do a tie-in with the kind of ideologies that have been embraced by regular voters on the left and some of them who look like me, skin-wise, skin color. And you listen to this and you're, personally, this is me, okay? I am horrified that this is the best. Okay, no, it's not the best. You do have other people in office, who essentially acquit themselves well. All right. There are very intelligent black people out there who are starting and running businesses, who are heads of multinational companies. They are at the top, but no one showcases them because most of them are Republicans. Yeah, most of them are Republicans. And so the Democrats who like to play on sentiment don't put forward these success stories. They only put forward the people who enhance the victimhood of the black community. The people on the left will never talk about Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell essentially started out as a Marxist, but when he realized that the end game of Marxism was extremely destructive, he changed. But they will never talk about Tom Sowell because he's not the kind of black person they want to showcase. They want to showcase people that will keep the black community enslaved mentally. They want the black community mentally enslaved. They want the black community mentally enslaved to a mediocre standard. This live stream is just a rant, so I'm just going to, it's a rant. I'm ranting without raising my voice and my blood pressure. Okay, so I can rant for 10 hours just talking like this. I can do it. Just talk about these things for 10 hours straight without blinking. So the YouTube algorithm can jump off a cliff. I don't care. I want us to talk about intelligent things without being emotional about it. Like I said, these people look like very nice people, but hey, most of the words coming out of their mouth makes no sense. Like Tony says, the math ain't mathing. You're going to hear another excuse for why they should have DEI and how they essentially, their argument collapses on itself. We're just halfway through. Okay, so let's keep going.
So, yeah, I want something that makes it more fair, makes it more equitable.
Yeah, so people on the right say that the reason that they don't support DEI is because they want employees to look at if they deserve because of their merit. If they deserve the job because of their merit.
DEI doesn't mean that you're undeserving.
See, that is the disingenuous argument that these people always bring up. How does DEI mean you're undeserving? If there is a 50% cutoff and you clear the 50% cutoff and the numbers say you have to have worked for a certain number of years within an industry, and the only person who qualifies to do that happens to be a white man. Because, hear me out, this guy started working summer jobs at 13, while you at 13 wanted to be a rapper. And you spent your time practicing how to rap and how to be a homie in the hood. He was getting a summer job. He was connecting with his community and getting referrals to other summer jobs all the way up to when he left college. He was already in the industry by then. So by the time he leaves college, he already has a resume that is full of work experience. Therefore, he qualifies for a lot of roles that you do not qualify for because at 13, you were trying to be a gangster or you were trying to be a rapper. Or you were trying to be a basketballer or a footballer. Like, that's like the black stereotypes have been created by black people. So when those stereotypes come back to bite them in the ass, they blame the white man for those stereotypes that they created. In my house, my son doesn't listen to secular black, rap music. He does not. It's banned from my house. It's banned. The closest he's come to is listening to Christian rap music. And even at that, I have it is done sparingly. Okay? Because I know where some of that nonsense leads. Okay, now you want to be a rapper because you see this guy who spends his time rapping, becoming successful, and you think that you can be successful too. No, that's not how the world works. If you want to be an entertainer, you're going into a pool that is full of broken and failed dreams. And even for people who succeed, their lives are a wreck in the end because that industry is so demanding. It takes everything away from you and almost gives you nothing in the end. I digress.
That's a misnomer. That's unreal. That's completely not true. It doesn't mean that you're not
systemic racism.
Yeah. So the reason why they say it's not true is systemic racism. That DEI is meant to head off systemic racism by replacing it with racism. Now, people talk about racism a lot, and racism essentially in my books is simply tribalism with a different label. In Nigeria, like I described earlier, there's tribalism. Here in North America, you can't say tribalism, so they've used the word, they've rebranded it as racism. So when you make decisions based on the tribe someone is from, whether that tribe has a skin color different from another tribe, it is still tribalism. We see how that has worked out in Africa.
That's why DEI came about, to sort of level the playing field and give people opportunities where they would not have.
Level the playing field by changing the by changing the cutoffs. And who decides what the cutoff is? Who decides what that cutoff looks like?
I don't think that DEI has made racism worse.
No.
Because now people are actually focusing on skin color versus not.
No, I don't feel that it's made it worse. In fact, DEI has benefited more white women than anyone else.
Absolutely.
How?
How?
Look at the number of executive white women.
Yeah. Now, should I agree with them? I'm inclined to. Why is that? Because you have more college-educated white women than you do black women. That's my assumption. It's an assumption. I'm going to do something that I always do, and I hope I'm going to. I hope I get the fact. I have the facts right. Okay. I always like to do this. Okay. Are there? Oops. Sorry. More college educated white women than black women. All right, I'm going to wait on this. I just made a statement, and I'm just going to wait to see if I'm right or wrong. Okay. What do you know? I was right. Yes, there are substantially more college-educated white women than black women in the US. This holds for both percentages, attainment rates, and absolute numbers, and absolute total. Look, I'm not going to read through that. I'm going to share the link with you guys to read through all the literature there. But guys, this is what I'm talking about. All right, this is what I'm talking about. They come up with these things about leveling the playing field. And then they say stupid nonsense like this. I don't want to say shit, but stupid nonsense. I just said it for trying not to say it. They say stupid stuff like this. They don't care about math. They don't care about history. They say nonsense like this, pass it off as, well, we said it, therefore it must be right. There are more white executives. How many black... Let's keep going.
Oh yeah, well, but see, I don't think that should be happening either. I think that it should only be based on our merit of if we're deserving of the job. I'm not like a woman in the workplace, like whoever deserves it.
In a perfect world, that shouldn't matter. But we're in an imperfect world, and you have to make policies to sort of try to make things fairer for the underclass and underserved.
So she's acknowledging that that we're in an imperfect world, and I agree. We're in an imperfect world. So why would she assume that a policy like DEI being operated in an imperfect world would bring about a perfect outcome? Is the hypocrisy, is the tyranny of low expectations or the bigotry of low expectations, you're essentially aiming downwards and saying, look, if you hit for if you have no expectations, you won't be disappointed. It is that downward spiral into oblivion, and they're like, yes, that's what we want. She knows the world isn't perfect. And yet, she wants us all to believe that DEI, executed by imperfect people in an imperfect world, is the perfect solution. For decades, the world has grown through merit. People show that they're capable and they can be trusted. And when they show up for something, they will deliver. That is who they are. And because they deliver, they are promoted and given more responsibilities. Jesus says, the one who is faithful with the little is faithful with much. Now, here's where Jesus gives a slap to DEI. The parable of the talents. There were 3 servants who had a master who was traveling. And he gives them talents. One, he gave 5. Another, I think he gave 3. And the last, he gave, 1. The one with 5 talents went out and traded and made 10. All right, he made 5 more, increasing his to 10. The guy with, 3 did the same, and then he made more money. The last guy decides, hey, I have 1 talent. My master clearly didn't think that I deserve 5, so I'm not going to do any work. I have low expectations, and so he goes and buries it in the dirt. His master comes back, And then he gets the report from the guy who, with 5 talents, got 5 more and has 10. He says, wow, congratulations. I'm going to give you a promotion. I'm paraphrasing. The guy with, I think, 3 talents, he gets a good report. I increased your holdings. He said, fantastic. I'm going to make you, a lord, or I'm going to promote you. Let me stay with the allegory. So he promotes him. The guy with 1 talent says, I knew that you were shrewd and that you like to use people and you like to reap where you don't sow. Therefore, I thought I'll stick it to you, and I buried that 1 talent you gave me, and here it is. And the master was angry and said, the worst thing, the least you could have done was to put this in the bank so that it will gain interest for me. But because you had such an evil, wicked heart, all right, I'm going to cast you out and punish you, all right? Give me that talent. And then he says, take that talent and give it to the one with 10. Someone who was in the school of DEI screamed, but Lord, he already has 10. And Jesus says, yes, because to the one who has, more will be given. To the one who doesn't have, even the little he has will be taken from him. People who like DEI don't like Jesus very much. Oh yeah, you're going to scream and say, "Hey, you're not, telling the truth. We love Jesus." Well, if you love Jesus, stop pushing DEI, because that parable tells you that Jesus isn't a fan of DEI. He's a fan of merit. You have to be a person that does the job and does it well, proves that you can do the job, and once you get promoted, more will be given to you. Don't sit around waiting for handouts. Don't. So they essentially want the world to hand them things and claim that it is leveling the playing field. I'll tell you what levels the playing field. Sit down and work hard. Study hard, work hard. Work hard in STEM, in the sciences, in the business courses. Work hard in math and sciences. Not in underwater basket weaving. Have you noticed that the people who feel like they are deserving of money and DEI and grants usually tend to be from the arts? They tend to be from the arts. They are the ones who love government grants. They love UNESCO projects, towards the arts, so that there's this grant given to a random artist to go paint a school in Africa. And they are paid tens of thousands of dollars for painting graffiti in schools in Africa. But because it's a white person doing it, oh my goodness, the paint must be made of gold. It's usually the artists that like these things. Tony, I'm not talking about you, because Tony is an artist and Tony sells his work. But usually it's these people who can't sell their art. They can't sell their art. They are failed artists. They are the ones who love these government and international grants that send them off to third world countries to wear shorts in the sun and paint the wall of schools. Maybe I stepped in it, but you get what I'm saying.
So if DEI is a method to get there, we have to start somewhere. We have to. And under the, if we don't acknowledge it and at least
one piece.
Okay.
If it weren't for DEI, the women who have positions now that are not merit-based, right? Like, not because they're women, they wouldn't even have those positions.
What a stupid take. Like, he's trying to do he's trying to get a gotcha moment. Like, you know those white women who got those positions? Yeah, those white women who look like you. Yeah, those women, they will not be in those positions if it wasn't for DEI. It's just so stupid. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about merit. Merit, not race. And he goes back to the race issue. Look, some of the most intelligent people that I had to deal with in elementary school, in high school, and in college were girls. You have some brilliant girls. I had brilliant girls at all levels. In elementary school, I had brilliant girls there. There were brilliant girls. There was one time that I and one other girl were juggling for first position in class. Like it was like she was taking first position this term. Next term is like I would take first position. Like it was me and a girl jostling for first position for a while in my class. So there are very intelligent women. And of course, in college, I had this particular girl who was just straight A's. She was straight A's. You know those girls who come to college and they already wear glasses, you know, those kinds of girls. Like she got straight A's all through. Okay. Like, so it's not to say that there aren't women who are that brilliant. There are. But you can't say because you want to raise the number of executives out there so that you have more women, you drop the bar, you reduce the requirements. That is why the West is going to shit. That is why the West is making some of the atrocious decisions that the West is making when it comes to immigration policy, when it comes to trade, even when it comes to defense. It's because now you have women who don't qualify to be in those high power, logic-driven positions. They're being, waltzed into those positions because there has to be diversity, equity, and inclusion. And sadly, you have people who don't qualify to operate at those high levels being waltzed in so that you can have some melanin in the room. The real people who qualify to be in those rooms really don't want to be in those rooms because they're too busy running their own businesses. They're too busy building their own empires. They don't want anything to do with politics. And sadly, it's a loss for the world. If Donald Trump hadn't decided to run for office, if he hadn't decided to leave his businesses in the hands of his sons and then get out into the gutter and start dealing with the insanity he's been dealing with for the last 10 years, okay, I don't know what the world would look like today. I don't. It might be a horrible cesspool of deception and brainwashing. There goes my rant for the day.
So just think about the benefit.
Yes, but I guess my thing is I don't know if I would want them to have the positions just because they're a woman.
But it's not because they're a woman.
Yeah.
It's in spite of.
It's in spite of.
Come on. You know, they deserve each other. I did say earlier that he had, feminine affects. And he's finishing her words or she's finishing his words. They agree completely in spite of being a woman. So everything I just said about some of the girls in my class being as intelligent or even more intelligent than most of the boys in my class, what they would say is they are intelligent in spite of them being women. The bigotry of low expectations. All right. This, like I said, horrifies me because these are people who look. And I'm not trying to cast shade on them in the sense of these are bad people. Look out for them. There's a Democrat under every bush who looks normal, but they're actually unhinged, crazy people. That is not what I'm trying to say. I'm addressing the ideology that they push. The ideology that says to us in this video, they are telling us, in spite of you being a woman, you've succeeded. Wow. Now, carry that mindset forward across every other roadblock that they claim exists. In spite of being a black man, you may be a moron, but you got the job. Go DEI. In spite of you being a this or the other, irrespective of whether you're qualified or not, in spite of all of that, you're a member of this executive board. There's representation. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the world we're living in. This is the ideology that has spawned the insane activities that we've been covering, with the attacks on ICE, with the riots, with the rise of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. It is these ideologies that has platformed all the insanity that we're seeing.
And they were probably not given positions because they were women.
Exactly.
So that's the difference.
All right, well, you guys are fabulous.
Well, she's being gracious, you know. I don't think they're fabulous for being polite, but their logic isn't fabulous at all. So, guys, it's like it's just me going through these stories. I got this alert yesterday. I looked at the story, and I had several creators immediately jump on the story and release videos. I don't have the bandwidth to do that right now, so I let it go. And I wanted to talk about it this morning. A leftist who believes in all of these things and believes that the Trump administration has robbed minorities of access because he canceled DEI. He's listened to Democrats claim that ICE is the Gestapo. He's listened to Democrats claim that ICE disappears people. He believes that what he just did was justified because of everything he's heard on TV. That it points to the fact that President Trump is a racist who wants to deport all the black and brown people. He did this. And we're already seeing CNN, pundits on CNN claiming that in spite of the fact that this person committed such a violent act, it's Trump's fault, actually. They went out of their way to claim that Trump's rhetoric incites violence on the right. Therefore, they are justified to have people like this react to the violence that Trump's rhetoric has caused. So Trump smiled, and so I blew up a building. So there, it's because of Trump. It's Trump's fault for smiling. This is what we're dealing with, guys. This is the insanity that we get to deal with. And you know what? We get to watch it, we get to document it, and we get to talk about it. So far, the news hasn't been very kind to the arsonists. All right? He hasn't. The news hasn't been kind to the arsonist. He's been exposed. He's been identified as someone who wants more violence against ICE. So that is where we are for today. Now, I'm going to. Okay, I think I've read all of the chats already. I've read all the chats. Okay. So this is a slow news day. It's a slow chat day as well, I guess. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks for laboring through me analyzing this last video, because the question always comes up again and again. Why is all of this happening? And sometimes the lazy thing to do is to say it's happening because the Democrats are evil, or Democrats are dumb, or look at them, they're unhinged. That's a lazy take on it. It's more difficult. It's more technical, and breaking it down takes a lot of work and takes a while. Because guys, you will not be able to solve a problem that has been festering for 50 years in 5 years. You will not. You will not do it in an 8-year presidency. You won't do it in a 4-year presidency. President Trump is going to be a lame duck president by the end of the midterms. So all of the celebrating, we're so back and everything, is very likely that that's going to end by December. And then we're going to have 2 years of a lame duck presidency. Very likely. So what happens then? What happens then? Okay, we can't depend on President Trump to fix the world. I'm sorry. It's convenient to believe that, but it's lazy. You can believe that all you want, but that is lazy and it doesn't work. I mean, I'm tempted to just go on and on and on, but I'm going to have to end the live stream at this point. I have a video that I'm prepping, and I would like to see if I can get that done as soon as I can. But here's what I would like to drop here in, before I go. Every time we see incidents like this, it's very easy and it's very simplistic for us to decide that the simple answer is the other side doesn't know what they're doing. On the contrary, they do. And when I say the other side, we're talking about the people in the organizing layer of the other side. For over 50 years, we've seen protests happening in schools. We've seen communists insinuate themselves into things like education, healthcare, public transportation, school boards, teachers' unions. They've insinuated themselves into every single part of American life, while you and I were busy sleeping. We were asleep. We weren't paying attention. We assumed that the people that were in office wanted the same things as us. So you can't afford to be asleep anymore. You need to know what's going on. You need to know what's at stake. And that's why I do what I do. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I do enjoy doing these. I will be on the lookout for stories. I'm going to be on look. I'm going to be doing more more shorter videos in the days to come. I am going to be doing more of those. I would really want to start knocking out a bunch of those because I miss doing those. I enjoy doing the live streams more, but the live streams, the live streams have a shelf life that the shorter videos don't. So I'm going to be doing some of those shorter videos, and I hope you get to watch them and give me some feedback on what you think about those videos. If you're watching and you've just found the channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video. If you are a first-time viewer, usually what we have here is more engagement in the chat. We did have engagement earlier, but usually we do have more engagement in the chat, and that is what the show is about. Chat engagement and more of a conversation around the stories that we're covering. Now, if you're watching and you just want to leave a comment, go ahead and leave a comment, and I will definitely be reading those comments. And in some ways, I might be responding to those comments in a future live stream. The next live stream is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be hanging out and covering the news stories of the day. Thank you for another great show with you guys listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.